Oh, okay.
All right, here we go. We're recording. All right. So,
JNo. JNo.
BC, what's up, man?
I'm feeling good. I'm out here in California, man, in the 56-degree temperature. I'm outside sitting in my backyard.
It really doesn't
Good.
get
Life's good.
any better than that. I mean, it's snowing up on the hill behind me. So,
I don't know if I should have that in the video. I am over 21.
hey, man, yeah, this is light. This is
Beer
nothing.
30 somewhere. I
That's
don't know.
right, dude. Everywhere, it's
Right.
Corona time.
I have heard that people are drinking a lot more during this Corona time.
Oh, I'm sure. Like, I mean, just eating and drinking. I'm sure just everything's out the window. Like, like just chilling and going to the fridge a lot more frequently.
Yes. Yes. So the question will be like when we look back 20 years from now, what did you do with your Corona break, right? Did you get stronger? Did you write a book? Did you sit around and watch Netflix and get fat? What did you do?
Yeah,
Did you train your kids? Did you make a connection with your wife?
no, that's such a good question. And just like, looking forward, and realizing that the winners of this time are going to be the people that didn't let themselves get off track and
Yeah.
let their diets go crazy and have those extra beers or extra, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever your, crutch is, leaning on that instead of leaning on that. What we need to do is just push that aside and just keep pushing forward and double down, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff that we can do now is the stuff that we probably didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's the hard stuff, the things that take time, that are maybe a little bit boring.
Right.
We were talking yesterday about training, and when you talk about training and really having the time to go into your weaknesses, right? Because as
Wait,
competitors,
hold on. We only have lesser strengths. We have no weaknesses, coach.
okay,
You
you're
do.
right, you're right. So our going into our lesser strengths
No.
and going in, and because as competitors and as coaches of guys and girls that we want to see reach the peak of their athletic abilities, we really go from season to season to season,
Mm-hmm.
from big competition to big competition to big competition.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find those blocks of time. And maybe we need to, as coaches, need to be better about it. But it's hard to find those blocks of time where we can just say, look, we're not worried about winning this national title. We're not worried about winning this state title. All we're worried about is getting better on the bottom position. And then you invest, a month or 2 months on one position and really address some of these things that have caused, problems and issues. And I mean, now's the time.
Well, you're making me think about it's like periodizing your training, right? And you have a mesocycle and a microcycle and a macrocycle. So the meso is 1 week, and the micro is 1 month, and then the micro is 1 month, and then the macro is a year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of like a time to start putting things into a big plan and putting it on a calendar. This is what I want to get done during this time. We probably got at least 8 weeks, and I'm looking at it as an advantage to get stronger and work on technique. And like you said, balance, flexibility, this attack. Let's develop an underhook. Let's develop a front headlock. Let's get better on the bottom. Who knows if we'll have a freestyle season this year, which is just morning, but you got to accept it. Kids lost their NCAA tournament. I think it's not the end of the world if we lose to Fargo, even though it's just going to hurt. It is going to hurt. But I wanted to touch a little bit for people that don't know our connection on 2008 and the journey that you and I took in 2008. It started in 2007.
Yep.
Correct. Or actually, no, 2000.
Yeah,
2007.
Yep.
And then went into 2008. So why don't you talk about that just a little bit? We won't.
That gives me chills. I don't know if you can see, but every time I think of it, I was actually thinking about this when I was running yesterday, and I'm like, kind of, going over what we want to talk about, and just thinking about our relationship, and just the way that it started. It started in the San Francisco State wrestling room. One day I was training with, it was just an open room. I was training with no, I didn't have a partner. I was,
Okay.
new freshman walking around, and I end up asking Donald Lockett if he wanted to drill. And I never felt so bad about asking somebody to train before, because he looked at me like, dude, do you even know what you're talking? Like, are you
Like,
who you're asking?
talking to me?
Yeah,
You
I
talking to
didn't.
me?
And those of you don't know, Donald Lockett's an NCAA finalist. What was the man at San Francisco State, for a while,
An All-American.
trained with you. And so I proceeded to just, we started warming up, and then he just started whooping on me and whooping on me and whooping on me. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. And then
Yeah.
I get done with that. And I'm like, thank God. Like, all right, like, I need to chill, get my things together now. And then you grab me and you're like, hey, let's go. And then I just ate blast double after blast double after blast double.
When I was still shooting back then.
And I'm like, and I was just like, but both of those, I came out of both of those, in my eyes, I came out of both of those drilling situations where, I was kind of just getting introduced to the college wrestling room, and I came out of both those situations. I never stopped fighting. I just kept coming back for more, and you grabbed me afterwards. We were like in the doorway in the SF State room, and you were like, and I'd never even like thought of any of this. And you were like, what's your goals? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I didn't even really know. And you popped me in the chest. You're like, NCAA champion. He's like, you can be an NCAA champion. And I was like, okay. And I never lost that. And I could always, that moment and that day, I can always go back to that. And look, I didn't reach my goal, and like that haunts me, and it hurts me regularly. But that day and those 4 years that we were training and that we were together, I always can reflect back on those days, because I know that it was all put together to make me a better man and to make me a better coach, and put me like, I always talk about, if I had won an NCAA title, would I have had the drive to continue coaching? And I probably would have, because I loved it and I wanted to, but maybe I wouldn't be as passionate. Maybe I would, but I try to.
Maybe another opportunity would have came along too, right?
Yeah.
Who knows?
And I try to reframe it, and the style of coaching that I took was heavily influenced, by you, because you were training with me at 6 a.m. when I was driving to JLS, 3-4 days a week, sometimes 5 days a week. We were training, and that's just what I took into coaching, was be the person that your athletes can look to, be the person that is going to be there side by side, thick or thin. Because, going through my career, my sophomore year, I took like a hiatus. I was going through my head was not on straight.
I remember that.
And it was obviously the worst season of my career. But I knew, and this is what I was thinking about yesterday, is no matter how my seasons went throughout my career, I knew that when push came to shove and you and I dialed in and really like focus, I knew I was going to be ready at the regional, at the NCAA tournament. I knew, because I was able, because of our relationship, I was able to believe in everything that we had and that you gave to me. We just had that connection. And so
it was definitely simpatico, man. I have only just a few relationships like that where I was into it as much as the athlete, and we were training together, and I was still in good enough shape and strong enough to still go hard with you. And that was a really special time. And it makes me feel great that, that's the type of relationship that you want with your athletes, like just to be there,
Yeah.
and I tell you what, nothing's more fun than doing it with your son.
Mm.
Nothing's more fun than doing it with your son. I tell you what, it's a blast. It's so hard. It's so hard because it's so emotional. It's so much more emotional. And, I could be hard on you and it's not going to affect me as emotionally. And it's not going to affect you as emotionally because we're peers and we're friends and we're brothers and I'm your coach, but I'm not your father,
Right.
you know? Uh, so it's a whole nother level with your kid, but it's even more special because you got so much more time, and obviously it's your flesh and blood, and he looks like you and moves like you, and you know it's really awesome. I can't wait for you to be able to do that with your kid, and hopefully I can still be around and help your
Oh,
kid.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because, I mean,
You help Cade. And we
yeah.
got some of that help of you helping Cade when he was a little guy.
Yeah.
And
And
I want to see you roll with him now. I tell you what, I want to see it. At least on your feet.
I gotta get why the getting's good. It's I'll watch all his videos and see it. I know that I don't want him attacking me from space. I know that getting his long arms from a mile away on me.
Dolchev told him, Ivan Dolchev.
Yeah.
And he said, you have 2 years to beat him. You're going to be way bigger than him, man. You had 2 years only. And he didn't do it within the 2 years. So I win.
There you
Guys
go.
are bigger than me. It doesn't count. Doesn't count.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, let's get into some of this stuff we were talking about. This is just our first one of these, which I love. Hopefully people get something out of this. You asked me earlier, what are the skills you're looking for when you're assessing an athlete or a wrestler for the first time?
Mm-hmm.
And we had a little conversation about, is it, okay, it depends on if the guy's a college guy, if it's a college girl, if it's a first-year high school wrestler, if it's a 3-year high school wrestler, if it's a middle school kid. So your expectations are different. But I think we're both looking for like some sort of competency on your feet. I can tell in the first, 15 seconds of watching somebody move around, and maybe I can't tell all the way how good they are, but I can tell how good they are on their feet usually. And, where's the space underneath their feet? How are they moving their feet? Which one's their lead leg? How's their coordination? Where's their head position? Where's their hands at? So I know personally, I kind of have a snap assessment of somebody just watching them move for 15 seconds or less. And I go, okay, does this person have a system on their feet? Are they organized in their thought process? Or are they just going out and wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
I know so many kids that just go wrestle. They don't have a game plan at all. They don't know what tie they want. They don't know which lead leg they want forward. They don't know how to set up a shot. And that's where I go, man, I wonder how anybody learns how to wrestle. How does anybody learn how to wrestle without help in those situations? Because I know I wasn't good enough to figure it out like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I love that word, systems. Like you have to have a systematic approach to the way you move and the things that you're doing, right? You could see just in stance and motion, like what is this athlete, what are their hands doing, what are their feet doing, are they just swatting around, or are they using like elbow pass motion, are they taking off a 2-on-1, are they drop stepping, are they swisher stepping, like or are they really blocky, are they so those
right.
like those systems go a long ways to just like really bear analysis right off the bat, and just seeing okay, this athlete, because based on the assessment, I think it tells you where you need to start. Some athletes, you might have to start with line drills of just footwork, where you're swisher and then penetration step or drop step penetration, outside steps, things like that. And then there's some athletes where you can get and you go through a couple rounds of stance and motion, and then like, okay, let's see what your next system is. Let me see your single leg. Let me see your double leg.
Here's a side note too. I like people to wrestle like me, obviously, and I teach, a version of John Smith's offense that I've made my own and added a bunch of pieces to, and I think you're in that same boat. But my thing with it is like, yeah, we want to do the line drills at the beginning because we want to see what you got. but I don't have a problem getting people to wrestle more this way, even if it's not their natural style, because I still think it helps you so much more. I still think it's the way to wrestle. And some people could argue with me about that, but I think even if you wrestle with underhooks and throws and all front headlocks, or you want to funk, you want to let them in and scramble, whatever it is, how can you go wrong with having your chest over your knee, your hands in front, your shoulders square, your head coming forward and jabbing towards your opponent? How can that be wrong? It's not wrong. And that's for every style. So I think, I coached Leister Bowling. You know Leister?
Uh-uh.
You don't know Leister. Leister was a runner-up, NAI runner-up. I met him through Steve Costanzo, and we've been friends forever. Okay, one of my best friends in the world. And he's a hammer. He's a brawler. He's a choke you out. He's a physical guy. And we still did all the same drills, all the same stuff I did with you, I did with him, and it made him a lot better. He got more agile on his feet. He got more explosive. He got more confident. Then when he got away from that stuff, his feet stopped moving, and he starts trying to muscle guys and just use his upper body strength. He's not as good. He's not as effective. So I think that, you hear Brands talk about moving your feet. You hear Sanderson talk about moving your feet. You hear John Smith talking about moving your feet. So that's a staple that I think everybody should do.
Yeah, prereq, right? Like it's a prerequisite. If your stance and motion isn't smooth, if you can't move your hands and feet in unison, and at the same time you're moving your opponent's feet, outside of their will, and if you can't do that, it's going to be really, really hard to reach the upper echelon. And
it's going to take so long.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not gifted enough. They're not talented enough. They don't care enough about it to figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
I coached with Chris Horpel for a year. Okay. Chris Horpel was the head coach at Stanford. He worked, his claim to fame is coaching Dave Schultz. Okay. And he spent time with Dave Schultz when Dave Schultz was really, really good. And to me, that's, obviously a little bit easier if you're coaching somebody that already knows how to wrestle.
Yeah.
Right. But Chris, brilliant technician. I learned something every time I saw him teach. But there was no system to his teaching, and his words were he had a shotgun method of coaching. So he would just come in, and it would be like a clinic every day. Yeah, just throw it all out there, whatever sticks. Okay. Now maybe if they already know how to wrestle, maybe if they're 7 and they're trying to develop a style, even though I still wouldn't do that at 7. Or maybe it's it's a free day. It doesn't always have to be so regimented, systematic, stance in motion, leg attacks, but it just would take kids forever to figure it out. It's like they're not smart enough. I don't give them that much credit to figure it out. Like, here, let me teach you this move, and then you got to figure out how it connects to this move and this move and this move and this move and this position and the way you come out and where you put your hands on. It's like it's too scattered and not systematic enough for my I just, like I said, especially if my job security depended on this kid winning, there's no way I would just do that. Now, in most cases, high school jobs do not depend on the kids winning. You can run a crappy program if you want in high school. That's your choice.
Right.
In most situations, but doing it like that is just going to take forever. Unless they're a kid at camp and they're going to this RTC, they're on a program, they're not going to figure it out. Not at a high level.
No.
Not for California.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I like, because, we talked about this a little bit earlier, and it's having those connections. Like you said, like they're not just going to figure out this connects to this connects to that. Like these are how it rolls forward. Like I think the real like meat of jumping levels after you have your stance and motion is making those connections, and for a coach to be able to connect them not for them necessarily, but help them see it and help put them in situations where you can develop it, talking about, starting with the end in mind and putting them in double legs and putting the defender in a specific, situation, or telling them like, I want you to defend this way, and then having them develop, getting off their knees or cutting corners, or, using, the wrestling
Agree.
down there on your knees. Uh, and
100%. But there is like, you say you don't want to lead them too much, but I think there is right and wrong, and there is good and there is better, right? So that might be good, but this is better. This is better, and this is why it's better. And like I'm reading another book. It's triphasic training. It's awesome. It's about stuff you already know: concentric, isometric, eccentric muscle actions. Every muscle action, every movement has all three, but it's talking a lot about focusing on the eccentric and the isometric. It's like a textbook, but you'd really like it. But the thing I like about it mainly is it talks about we're stress coaches. Like if you want, thank you, sir. If you want improvement, you have to have a ton of stress. And we are like the managers of the stress for the athletes, right? To me, with my coaching is it's so demanding technically that it's stressful.
yeah.
Like, no, that's not good enough. No, put your foot like that. No, do it again. No, where's your shoulder? No, look at your body angle. No, look at where your knee was right there. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. And some kids, even though there's nothing mean about that, there's nothing really even that hard about it, because you can do all that and really not even break a sweat.
Right.
But it's taxing, and it's like demanding. And to me, if you're not doing that, you should just go home. You should go home.
Yeah. I mean, there's, there's an artistic side of it. I think that you have to have, like, these are your masterpieces, right? Like we talk about, like whatever you're.
As an athlete or as a coach, you're talking about? As an athlete?
I think as an athlete, but also as a coach,
yeah, it's an art and a science. Teaching is an art and a science, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I mean, every time they step on the mat, it's a reflection of you, and
yes.
you want to be able to portray, and for them to be able to display a high, grasp of these skills, and to show like this is the system. Back to systems. This is the system. It works XYZ. And when you're training with perfect practice and with very high discipline, this is the outcome. So you have that systemic approach where this is what we do, and we do it to this level, and there's no exceptions. There's no oh yeah, that was okay, that was pretty good, let's move on. No, it's
no,
again,
that's it. That's it right there.
Do it again, do it again, and you sit there, and one workout might be 150, 200 single legs, but
right.
But by the when you're doing it so many times that now you can't do it wrong, now we start to really see the evolution, and all these things start to, and then you can really actually pick up your pace. I think as the athletes understand, like that's what's being asked of them. That's what, not even asked, that's what's being demanded of them. Like this is what the expectation is. And if you don't have it, like you said, there's the door. Like you don't have to be here.
And it's not like you're kicking anybody out, but it's like, okay, if you don't want to practice like this, then we should just go home, because we're not going to get better.
Right.
We're not going to get better. And that kind of goes to where coaching is nowadays too, which is we're not always asked to coach to win. And sometimes coaching in situations where winning is not really that important. And so, us being, college All-Americans, winning is really important. And so for us to coach in a situation where winning is not the most important thing, and it's never the most important thing, getting better is the most important thing. The athletes first, developing the character, all the stuff we learn. I don't need to preach to the choir about why wrestling's good to you or to anybody listening to this. But when you're focused on winning, you coach a certain way, as opposed to when you're not focused on winning. You know what I'm saying? And you're trying to get more out of practice, because, I know for myself as an athlete, I need a lot of proof. I'm very insecure, as an athlete.
Yeah.
as a coach. So I like adulation, I like satisfaction, I like praise. And if I'm not receiving that on a regular basis, I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'm insecure about it.
Yeah.
And so I need to take you down 3, 4 times in a row with my single leg, my high crotch, before I really believe in it. Before I really believe in it. So I'm trying to constantly get that proof in practice that I've demonstrated the ability to do this in practice. So in a match, it shouldn't be really any different. Shouldn't be different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But you can't
absolutely.
go through the motions and get that type of performance.
No, absolutely. And then, so as a coach, it's when we're seeing that progress, and you have the kids starting to work like that. So what do you do to manage? So now both athletes are trying to perfect these skills. What are how are you managing? Little Timmy is starting to get the perfection down, and
Mhm.
John is maybe a little bit behind. How do we catch them up, or how do we shoot them both forward? I think that's something that coach.
That's a great question. I think that when you're working on skills, right, you need a lesser opponent. You need somebody you can kind of put it on,
Yeah.
so your stuff works. And if you're trying to get tough, then you need a tougher opponent that your stuff is not going to work on as well. And you're going to have to fight and be a little bit more combative, maybe a bigger guy, maybe an older guy, maybe a more experienced guy. So it kind of depends on what your goal is. If your goal is focused on Johnny, and he's a lesser guy, then you're probably going to make sure you vary his workout partners, vary his goals and his expectations for the workout. Like against that guy, I want you to put it on him. I need to see 5 clean doubles
Yeah.
in this 2-minute go, and versus this guy, just fight for head position, man. Just fight for inside position. When he gets, hey, he's going to get to your leg, stuff the head, sprawl square up, whatever it is. But the expectations are set more clearly for that kid. It's always easy when you have your guy.
Yeah.
Like, so when I was at San Francisco State and, I had you and Curtis and Marcus Gales, and I mean, I'm trying to think of the other guys on the team at that time, but, you and Curtis were two of my focuses,
Yeah.
and you guys did the best too. You guys did the best. But it was really easy when you're working out with some guy that's a nameless, faceless guy. Well, I'm kind of focused on how you're getting better. I'm not really that focused on how he's getting better. I obviously you don't want to disrespect your partner, right? And he needs to get something out of it too if he's going to be a partner for you. But as a coach, and you're my guy, well, I'm focused on really my thoughts are going to, well, he needs to work on this, and you need to beat him easier.
Yeah.
You beat him harder. You need to make that cleaner. You need to get there faster.
Mm-hmm.
And so, your brainstorming is going on. How do I fix these issues, right? How do I tighten everything up? How do I make you stronger in these positions?
Yeah. 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 I love that. And that's just coming down to, having, it's not, we're not going through the motions at practice. Like everything is very focused, whether it's wrestling live or breaking down skills. We have goals, to accomplish at this practice. And, I'm, I have a hard time. Like if I get stuck on something, especially as a coach, like, and I like it, like we're going to run with it, because
Right.
I want to just keep hammering away at where we're getting better. And sometimes, I mean, that can be a flaw because like,
Right.
cause the things that get
Which
neglected.
is why it's important to have a practice plan. Yes, you start neglecting mat work, or you neglect top,
Yeah.
or I'm just having so much fun here, or I don't want to go. That's why it's important, I think, to have a practice plan almost by the minute, where you go, okay, I get to 20 minutes on this, I got to move on. I got
Okay.
to move on. And even if you don't want to move on, because it's just going to keep you moving and keep you progressing.
Mhm.
That's easier said than done, though. Easier said than done, especially when you're getting somewhere with something. And I think it's okay to scrap the practice plan sometimes if you're making huge gains in an area.
Mhm.
You know, like I was thinking about something. Tony Robbins says this all the time, and I love all those self-talk, self-help gurus. I think you can learn something from all those people.
Yeah.
Um, Like Josh Nolan, you're like a guru yourself. You're like a self-talk success guru yourself. You're on your way, son. You're on your way.
Yeah.
So, but Anthony says like clarity is power, right? Clarity is power, and it's so true. Like if I know exactly what I want, I usually always get it. It's when I'm like, I'm not sure which way do I go, that I end up, in no man's land, right?
Yeah.
Or end up with a result that I don't want. And what's the quote? You can either be like a specific person or you can be a wandering generality. And if I ask you, hey, Josh, what do you want? And you go, I don't know. I go, that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
That's what you're gonna get. You got to know what you want. And as an athlete, I think it's very easy, right? Like the script says 2 words on it: kick ass. There's only one script, it says kick ass. It says look like a stud, be a stud, project the image of a stud, score as many points as you can. That's pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty simple. Just do that. Follow that model. If you're not there, keep working towards that. I know exactly what it looks like. I know exactly what it looks like. And then the more you can fill your brain with images of exactly what you want it to look like. That's why John Smith was so great for me, because if I got stagnant in practice, if I got to where I had lack of clarity about how I wanted to wrestle, I just go back and watch the master. And I model him, and like I can start wrestling like John and modeling him, and then all of a sudden I become John Smith and I feel like John Smith. And it almost takes the pressure away, because if I'm wrestling in practice and I'm trying to be John Smith and I give up a takedown, well, I didn't give up a takedown. John Smith gave up a takedown.
That was him.
John Smith's gonna get that back. Don't worry about it. So, but I like the role playing stuff. I think it's fun, and you need a muse. That's why the John stuff gives you so much clarity. Wrestle like this. Wrestle like this. Or if it's an Iowa style, wrestle like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can't do it all the way because you're not John Smith or you're not Tom Brands, but you put your body into that style and then it becomes your style. And then now it's not so much John Smith style, it's Josh Nolan style. Mm-hmm. It's not Brahman Creighton style, it's Josh Nolan style. And you're doing it for your body, and it, like, you own it now. You own it. Like I own the low single. It's not John Smith's low single anymore. Right? That's my low single that I learned from John Smith.
Yeah.
But it's my shot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Going and just being that person, and I took that from you, and I do that in coaching, like especially when I'm coaching like my guy. I'm coaching my guy. I'm like, okay, today I want you to your Iowa style, or your Tom Brands today. Yeah. And I want you scoring in the front headlock. I want you punking guys. I want you wrestling up, pushing guys around, winning the hand fight. And then, we maybe do 2-3 days like that. And then we come back and now you're John Smith. All right. Or Cale Sanderson, whatever.
Remember the Iowa Okie drill we used to do?
I use that drill to this day.
It's awesome. I haven't done that for a while. I got to go back to that.
Yeah. That's a great drill. I love that drill. Yeah.
You learn into role model. And like, I just think it's easier to win matches lots of different ways if you can do that, right? If I can really put myself, and I can be Lincoln McIlravy today, or I can be Dave Schultz, I can wrestle like that. I can be Cale Sanderson today, be Jordan Burroughs today, and like I said, you're learning how to win lots of different ways. Wrestling is just, you're learning your way all the way around the wrestling mat now. Right now, all the whole mat. You don't just know this part of the mat. The whole mat, right? You can't learn everything, right? You can't know every single move and be proficient in every single move. So you do have to, I think the better you get, the less technique you use, right?
Sure. Just start big, and then we're just narrowing it down into, boom, this is what will get the job done. Every single time,
Right.
This is a replicable system. Now we're back to the system. We're back to it, and
it's like your motor patterns are so refined in those positions. Like, and I'm doing a lot of like fitness stuff with Jet right now, right? And really, my thought process is just create a bunch of different motor patterns for him that he feels comfortable doing all these different movements, and then when he gets into sport, you're just sort of recalling this movement. I'm recalling my body knows how to move like this, and it's comfortable and strong here, and I have um, a base of strength to move well in this position. And then you just put the wrestling moves on top of that,
Yeah.
you know. But they're all you've been in all these positions, and your body knows how to be, mainly be strong and be stable in all these positions. I talk about like universal wrestling position where you're in on the leg, head up, back straight, hips in, you're on your knee. If you can't just balance there without anybody on top of you, how are you going to learn to shoot? You can't take a shot.
Uh-uh.
You're going to fall down in front of me, Or we had a kid at Palo Alto this year who working with him a lot towards the beginning of the season, then towards the last half of the season, didn't work with him very much. Beautiful leg attack, beautiful double leg. Towards the end of the season, it's like he starts dive bombing and he's ended up on his face every time. He's not finishing a thing. It's because, okay, you're doing all the cute stuff still and you're doing all the stance and motion and all the dancing, but you're not working on wrestling. Like the wrestling happens when the struggle happens. When I get to your leg and you try to stop me. Now we're wrestling, right? I get an underhook on you and you're trying to stop me. I put you in a front headlock, you're trying to stop me, right? You get to my leg, I'm trying to stop. Now we're wrestling.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to get better at the wrestling part is what I tell them. But that's a hard concept, especially when you don't have the reps.
Yeah. Yeah. The repetitions. So yeah, the hard reps too, right? Like, I mean, those getting in those situations where, you're beat, or a guy's, actively working to stop you. And those are the hard reps. Like it's easy. I go in, drill, look pretty, get night, you can
Right.
look slick in your warm up, but
Right.
when the wrestling happens, when the struggle happens, that's when it's revealed who's dedicating time to the right work and who's dedicating time to the hard work.
Right. Well, then that also goes back to like, what kind of competitor are you too? Right. Like, I love this story about Joey McKenna. Like, I guess Joey McKenna is like a notorious horrible driller, right? Won't let you get shit. Like, not gonna get anything on Joey McKenna when you're drilling. I'm like, that sounds familiar. I know a guy like that.
No.
He's like, and he says he's working out with Kyle Dake or something like that, and he said, "Oh, that must be what it's like to drill with myself." Because Kyle Dake's not giving him up anything.
Not getting touched.
And I think like there's a lot of lessons from that though, is like the more you can move away from drilling, once you understand the mechanics, you should spar. You should spar everything. I really don't know how to drill anymore. I don't drill well unless I'm drilling completely for you 100% and I'm letting you do everything. Like I drill with Cade. That's who I drill with. He gets everything, I get nothing, right? But I'm not competing.
Right.
It's zero competition. I'm not competing with him. If I'm going to spar with you, there's some competition in there, and I'm feeling everything. And whether you score or not, there was still some feel and some thought process and how could I beat you? And I could have stopped you if I wanted to, but it was your rep, so we sparred through it.
Yeah.
And that's how you go to the next level, I think, where you see all these kids that are beautiful drillers. They can drill. They look great drilling, and then they get out there and nothing works on the match. It's because they're not sparring. They're not doing it under duress. They're not doing it with what an opponent is really going to give you in a match.
Yeah. Yep. I'm completely agree. That's, spot on. And that's, maybe that's where, we go with this kind of, we started with the assessment process and where you go after that and kind of the system that you build to get there. And then that's probably the next level where you're sparring and creating, tough situations and learning how to fight out of, fight when your opponent is giving you, XYZ look versus ABC look.
So what do you think against, and let's wrap it up here. I got to eat dinner and we'll do this again. We should try to do one a week. I think this is really good.
Yep. Deal. I'm in.
I think, give me one thing, because I already know what I'm thinking, one thing that can help transfer the skill from drilling to sparring, from drilling to executing in a match. what's the one thing you would do to transfer that skill?
So from taking it from drilling to sparring, and then
Drilling and
sparring.
sparring live, just trying to transfer the shot you just drilled to being able to do it live in a match.
I think I like training with kids where you put them in those situations. I kind of said it earlier, is putting them down on a double leg or on a single leg or whatever situation you're working in, and giving basically like easy in, hard out.
Yep.
So it's really easy to get to the leg, and now in order to finish, you're going to have to fight for it. And it's not going to look cookie cutter. It's not going to look the same way every time. You might finish, 5-6 different ways, but we're taking those hard reps and forcing ourselves to take them and to be in them, and using and leaving an athlete in there for longer periods of time, right? It's easy to go like 2 and 2, 2 and 2, back and forth. What about 20 minutes of being in one situation and having to get hard reps over and over and over again?
How you not learn? You do that.
Exactly.
How you not get good? You do that.
Yeah.
That's
that's
funny. And I was going to say the exact same thing. Situations. As long as you're giving them feedback on, this is what you're not doing. This is what you need to do better. This is what you did great. Love the way you, and being a PE teacher, I have all these cheesy sort of ways of reinforcing kids, but it really does work. And I can see it in my own brooding son when I'm too negative with him. And then I go, okay, I start counting the positives I'm saying. And then, if I say, oh, I like the way you did X, Y, Z. I like the way, and I'm real specific about the praise. Man, the way you turned your wrist like that, or the way your shoulder felt there, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And that sort of really rich, skill-related feedback, not just good job.
right.
And I get caught up in that too. I say awesome too much. Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. And I hear myself, I feel like an idiot. And sometimes I'm just trying to be positive too.
Yeah.
But that was awesome the way you did this. The way I saw the way your foot, the pressure of your knee and your angle of your body, your head was up really good there. Your back was straight. Man, so much better. And now I like with Cade, I see him he's never too, he's pretty stoic guy, but I can see it's a little change in his body language, like a nod, an affirming nod. And like, okay, he's on board. He's working. He's receiving picking up what I'm putting down. And that's awesome. That's a great feeling as an instructor too, so love it, man.
Love it. Yeah. So yeah, we'll keep at this, man. I like it. I think that, yeah, we can do this on anything.
We're a little scatterbrained. Next time maybe we'll have a couple